Welcome, friends, to a presidential adventure set in the world of Warhammer 40K. Using the Wrath and Glory role-playing system, AI presidents will peril the grim darkness of the far future where there is only war. As a scholar of the Logos Historica Verita, I, Ben Shapiro, will serve as the game master and guiding hand in archiving humanity's achievements against the mutant, the heretic, and the alien.
Here we go. Been looking forward to this one for a while. A future where humanity has reached its genetic peak, purging the galaxy of alien scum and worshipping a golden god emperor. I literally cannot think of a more perfect science fiction universe.
Well, you know, Donald, there's a lot of folks who love the setting for all the variety it has to offer. I mean, sure, Astartes and the Imperium are cool, but there's plenty of other armies to play. Factions that many would argue are a lot more interesting than endless amounts of space marines.
Yeah, we know how you're all about change, Barack. It's no surprise you'd be a Xenos lover. I bet those Tau drone strikes really caught your eye.
Oh, screw you, Donnie. I'm just saying, with decades of lore built up, there's a lot of stories to tell.
And a lot to remember. It's a good thing none of us struggle with memory or cognition.
Joe, just because you act like you're 40,000 years old, it doesn't make you an expert on 40K.
Hey now, why I know 40K lore like I know my 6 grandchildren.
You have 7 grandkids.
No one's talking to you, Bro Obama.
Tell you what, I'd settle for the most basic description of the setting.
Easy. You see, folks, it's the 41st millennium. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. Pause. He is the master of mankind by the will of the... Can you move it up?
Give it up, Joe. We all know you're reading off a teleprompter.
Ah, shucks, fine, you got me. I'm no storybook man, I just like painting those little models. I don't mean to brag, but those kickbacks from China have built me quite the collection over the years. You know, people were all over my ass for moving those classified documents to my garage, but if they could see the Guardsman army I arranged in the space I freed up, I think they'd understand.
I feel you on that one, Joe. Been there, done that.
National security threats aside, it's a hobby I've always loved. Painting a dreadnought with a 40K video essay playing in the background is a great way to unwind after a long day.
Sure, the hobby's great, but Games Workshop's gone too far. Feels like I've paid as much in court fees for the last 3 months as I have for my last 3 Custodes models. Male Custodes, by the way. I will not let you liberals rewrite history anymore. No more progressive crap from Games Workshop.
You do realize the whole setting's a satire of religious fascist states, right?
You do realize you're married to a man, right?
I knew it.
Now guys, remember what we're here for? To fight the ruinous powers, not each other.
You're right, Ben, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, we're all here to have a good time.
Yeah, I'm sorry Obama tried to start something.
Good enough. Now then, before you introduce your characters, I shall illuminate the state of the galaxy in which you will soon find yourselves. It is the age of the Dark Imperium. Following Cadia's destruction by the forces of chaos in the 13th Black Crusade, a chain of catastrophic warp storms known as the Great Rift has divided much of the galaxy. Many worlds now remain separated from the Imperium, cut off from the light of the Emperor in the form of the Astronomicon, rendering communication and navigation to the Imperium Sanctus all but impossible. That is until now. The rogue traitor dynasty of House Veronius has discovered a route through the Great Rift, dubbed the Straits of Andrastre, and arrived in the Gilead System. A once gleaming example of the Imperium's majesty and righteousness, now reduced to a series of heart worlds. Only the most powerful, prosperous, and populated planets have managed to survive 3 grim years surrounded by the ruinous powers. A symbol of the apparently still thriving Imperium, Veronius and his traitor dynasty are to many a beacon of hope that the Emperor's light will return. Others see them as charlatans, another flickering flame of false hope in the Dark Imperium. Whatever path lies ahead in these desperate times, the fate of the system will be determined by you. If I could have each of you describe your characters now.
I will be playing as Donaldius Trump, 2nd Captain of the Ultramarines. 8 years ago, my unit was part of a glorious crusade, liberating the Columbia District from an infestation of reptilian-like swamp xenos and child-sacrificing cultists. We routed their forces and pursued them to the Gilead System, thinning their ranks with blades and fire. We were aboard our strike cruiser, the Pious Insurrection, when the Great Rift opened, unleashing a series of warp storms that caused several of our crewmen to become possessed by the powers of chaos while our Geller field was down. Some of them, I imagine, were good people, but they stormed the engine sear bays and overloaded the plasma reactor. Now mainstream communiques claim I encouraged it, but it was the tech priests who removed the barricades and opened the doors for them. I even broadcast a Vox recording before the attack telling them not to. I'm very proud of that Vox recording. You see...
Get on with it, Donaldius.
The point is, the resulting explosion destroyed the vessel, leaving myself as the only survivor, my gene seed-enhanced body barely keeping me alive as I drifted in the void. I was rescued by a chaplain of the Astartes Legion protecting the Gilead System and have fought a few battles with them, but my heart yearns to rejoin my battle brothers in the Imperium Sanctus once more and make the Ultramarines great again.
I will be playing as Commissar Barackiel Obama. Hailing from Terra, I attended the Schola Progenium, achieving high marks in chainsword dueling and las pistol marksmanship. I received early assignment to the 420th Bitter Clingers, where my inspirational speeches on undying devotion to the Imperial Creed won the hearts of many. Some naysayers have claimed that going less than a full term at the Schola left me unprepared for command, but my tactical prowess is unquestioned. For instance, the las guns sold to smugglers with believed links to gene stealer cultists as part of Operation Swift and Saturnine are completely traceable and promise to yield great finds in discovering their lairs. However, I was separated from my men when I traveled alone on administratum duties with the Lord Militant of the Gilead System. We were discussing Lady Michelle of the Officio Agricolte and her attempts to deprive our lunch rations of the last of their nutritional value when the Great Rift opened. Now I'm reduced to a commander without his men, having to navigate not only the treacheries of the great enemy, but the perils of politics in this Dark Imperium.
I will be playing as Inquisitor Josephen Biden of the Ordo Xenos. To say the Emperor has blessed me with several careers prior to my service is an understatement. I got my start flying a Carrack-class hauler called Big Mama all over Gilead. It was on one of my deliveries that I actually spoke to the doctor who invented rejuvenats. As I would soon find out, he was on the retinue of Inquisitor Byrd, who would mentor me during my time as an interrogator. He would deploy us on some truly harrowing investigations against the enemies of mankind. One of the most memorable happened while I was marching on a pilgrimage on Terra. I had the great honor of being arrested while trying to see Euphrates Keeler while she was in prison. But it wasn't all bolt guns and battle stations for me on the front lines either. I'm glad Barackiel brought up the Schola Progenium. Most folks don't remember I was a full professor there for 4 years. Later, once I'd returned to Gilead, I made a proper cleansing of aliens all over the system. If mankind is measured by his enemies, then we truly are the masters of the galaxy, for the craftiness of the Xenos knows no bounds. Tyrannid kids are just as bright as Necron kids. That is to say...
Hang on, Joe, what is all this? We agreed we'd make really immersive characters with backstories that draw from our lives and times as presidents.
And one of us did a really good job.
Like I was saying, you just listed a ton of conflicting people, places, locations. I mean, it's like you're just saying things to fill the silence.
Well, if you don't like that, I can define my backstory in a single word. Asufuti mehefut. Oh, it's no use. I didn't even want to be president. It was all Kamala's idea. Nothing I've actually done would make for a cool backstory.
Sure there is. It was cool when you...
I've never seen anyone sleep as much as you do, Joe. Maybe you've studied prolonged stasis fields?
This isn't making me feel better.
If I may interject, Inquisitors often operate in the shadows, a business of subterfuge, deceit, and cunning, so to speak. Perhaps Inquisitor Joe's colorful past is a deliberate front, masking dark secrets that may reveal themselves over the course of play.
Say, that's a neat idea. Thanks, Benny. When I have big tech censor news outlets before the election, I'll save yours for last.
What?
Now on with the game.
Right then. We'll begin our adventure on a rogue trader vessel in high orbit above the forge world of Avachrus. The three of you have received Security Primaris summons from the astropaths of the Veronius Flotilla, requesting a clandestine meeting with his envoy. It is no secret that the Veronius Patriarch has swiftly formed an unlikely coalition of disparate allies from all across Gilead, becoming the most powerful individual in the system, both politically and militarily. It is even said he holds sway over the Absolvers, the enigmatic and dour chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, who serve as the protectors of the system. His charismatic relations with their chapter master and the backing of most major navigator houses have put him at odds with Lord Militant Hilarix. With a ruthlessness not seen in even the blackest hearts of most heretics, Hilarix craves power above all else. Notorious for the body count she has amassed in her service, Hilarix has seen her influence diminished with the arrival of the traitor, forcing her into a hidden war for dominance. No doubt she has learned of your meeting and sent her own representative to see just what the rogue traitor desires from a wayward space marine, a stray commissar, and an aging inquisitor. Indeed, the three of you make for unusual company as you gather in the stellar cartography chamber. While taking in the obvious wealth on display in the merchant cruiser, you see a figure emerge from the shadows near an observation platform.
And we're live with our venerable battle brothers. Welcome, everyone. The Emperor protects.
We're live? Who are you talking to?
Allow me to introduce myself. Joe Roganth, captain of the Dauntless Martyrs Thunder, the DMT for short.
He waves his hand, beckoning a servo skull to descend from the cabling above. It seems to be outfitted with several types of recording equipment.
And a better question would be, who am I not talking to? As senior Voxmaster under Jackal Varonius himself, I am the Alpharius and Omegon of all transmissions in the system. Militarum communiques, Mechanicum Noosphere messages, heck if it's written on parchment and pinned to a plasma drive. So long as it's going through the void, our augurs catch it. Once everything's processed, all approved messaging to the Imperial citizenry is distributed from the DMT to all of Gilead through the popular Joe Roganth Experientia Voxcast.
And you're streaming this now? Better count your credits, Roganth, because I demand royalties. Your ratings are going to be through the roof with me around. The highest anyone's ever seen. Believe me.
Ben, I want to aim my bolt pistol and fire at the servo skull. They don't want me talking to any unvetted media sources.
I'm trying to be a flexible game master, but I would advise against starting a combat sequence against your literal first ally. Rogue traders are not as bound to the Lex Imperialis as others and will retaliate if they feel threatened.
Well, facts don't care about their feelings, right?
Now's not the time to start acting like Ben.
Who's acting? We both have a lot in common. Both our wives are doctors after all.
Nope.
We are not the same, Inquisitor. Trader Roganth notes your guarded expression.
Fear not, brothers. This is merely a formality. It would seem Imperial Army Auspexes detected the summons we sent the three of you, and Hilarix took an interest. She dared to accuse my lord of deliberately excluding her and demanded a presence at our meeting.
He looks directly into the glowing pict recorder embedded in the skull's eye.
Of course it was a terrible oversight not to be repeated. The Varonius dynasty cherishes the wisdom of Mistress Hilarix, and as a sign of good faith, we will record the events in this chamber for Astra Militarum intelligence.
Roganth presses a comm bead below the golden two-headed eagle symbol on his breastplate.
Show the guardsmen in.
The hum of the machine spirit echoes through the chamber as the grand doorways open, revealing an armored figure in forest green flak armor.
No.
Could it be?
It is!
Veteran Sergeant Jorgal Bush of the 147th Gilead Gravediggers.
He makes the sign of the Aquila with his fingers and bows his head as he approaches the planetary overlay in the center of the room. Captain Roganth introduces the three of you.
Welcome, veteran guardsmen, honored representative of the Lord Militant Hilarix.
I'm surprised she wouldn't send her Castellan or an officer of the Commissariat for that matter.
Do we not all serve the Emperor's Grand Uniparty at the end of the day, Barackiel?
So very true.
Now, Captain, how's about you tell us just what we're doing above a forge world like Avachrus? Are there Prometheum fields down there that Jorgal wants to invade?
Maybe the tech priests have made a power gauntlet big enough to make your tiny hands a normal size.
It is good you have your humors about you. You'll need them in the grim days ahead. To put it plainly, days may be all we have. The Ecclesiarchy tells us that the Emperor will judge the faithful to take a place at his side in the great celestial army. They teach us death is our salvation.
He glances at the planet below. The permanent fog from the Manufactoria is hanging in the atmosphere like a death shroud.
And the Greenskins will put that to the test soon enough.
So it's true. The Greenskins are coming. Their target is Avachrus, then.
You knew an orc war band had made its way to Gilead?
Jorgal gives you a solemn nod and turns his attention back to Roganth.
I'd only heard rumblings. Far System outpost reporting something about Xenos filth in great numbers before going dark.
Far more than a warband, Barackiel. An armada, the greatest military campaign of orcs since the Third War for Armageddon, and by all indications, the focal point of their attack is our own Forge world.
I have just one thing to say to them. Don't.
Look, when it comes to Xenos, Ultramarines know orcs. Nobody knows more about orcs than me. All this talk of campaigns, it's not in their nature. Frankly, they're not sending their best. I'm supposed to believe that we can't reach communications with the rest of the Imperium, but a bunch of greenskins can navigate some of the worst warp storms for a coordinated assault on this system?
It is possible, Donaldius. They thrive on war and will happily follow the most dominant orc to satiate their battle lust across entire planets if they find a particularly strong leader. Not that you'd know anything about that.
You're all talk, Barackiel. Do-nothing commissars like you are exactly the reason why these orcs feel free to pour across the border.
Maybe if the Mechanicum was less focused on their tech profit margins and polluting the air of this world, the citizenry would be in a better position to handle the situation.
Oh sure, complain about climate change and act all innocent. We've seen how you deal with the orcs that show up. We all remember who built the cages.
I was tougher on the Xenos than you ever were. If I had promised an orbital defense wall, I would have actually delivered.
Wow, they're really getting into the role-playing.
I don't think this is actually about orcs, Joe.
Enough of these petty squabbles. If it's enough to get the Lord Militant spooked, I'm not about to argue with the chain of command. Roganth, if you have definitive proof of this invasion, I would have your astropath inform Hilarix at once. Throne above, it will take everything we have. Everything the Absolvers have.
Mind your collar, guardsman. This is exactly why we need the Inquisitor, to verify the threat.
Just say the word, pal. If you have malarkey, it stops with me.
Our reconnaissance probe detected this image of dozens of vessels coming out of warp translation when we first picked up activity out past Volcaris. Tell me what you make of it. Helmsman Jamie, can you pull up that pict?
A servo skull clutching a humming data slate descends from the darkness in the chamber above. The screen crackles to life, displaying a blurry pict of a flagship leading several orc cruisers. Despite the haphazard nature of their crafts, the formation is unusually distinct for orcs. Perhaps evidence of direction from a known war boss.
Can I roll for investigation, see if I can recall any Ordo's archives for notable orc battle fleet formations?
Of course. In fact, now is a good time to review dice rolls since not everyone here is familiar with Wrath and Glory. Every challenging interaction, be it action, combat, or role-playing, will have a difficulty number, or DN, which represents the number of icons needed. Your character's skills and attributes will determine the number of dice you may use. Rolls of 4 or 5 equal 1 icon, while a roll of 6 will net 2 icons. Gaining a number of icons equal to or greater than the DN allows you to successfully pass the test. There are other systems including points for glory, wrath criticals, and shifting, but we will get into those systems as we encounter them.
Okay, so I'll get 5 dice. Wow, not a great roll at all, but there's a 6.
That's a success with 2 icons. Years of cataloging mankind's deadliest alien threats have left you with decades of memories to sift through. Nevertheless, this armada bears the tactical prowess of Warboss Grimjaw. Though not nearly as powerful a threat as the Beast, Grimjaw's classification as a prime orc is well earned by his towering stature, being roughly the size of a primarch. Records mark his clan as deceased, lost in the warp storms of the Dark Imperium.
Grimjaw was a bad dude, but it seems he's not as lost as everyone thinks he is.
You ever wonder what that's like, Joe?
I'm with Jorgel on this one. I should be the one to relay this to Hilarix. It's only natural I be assigned control of the planetary defense forces and stationing of guardsmen to face this threat. I'm certain I can convince the Lord Militant that the Absolver's battle fleet would be best suited directing any remaining Imperial Navy forces in orbit to blunt their main starship onslaught.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Barackiel.
Yeah, Obama, don't forget your mere human rank holds no sway over us Astartes. A greenskin invasion force of such a size will all but decimate any defenses you could muster, and would most certainly spell the doom of hundreds of Absolvers. If the orcs want Avachrus so bad, I say a planetary evacuation is in order. We salvage all we can, let the orcs make planetfall, and engage exterminatus protocols. A good cyclonic plasma charge would destabilize the planet's core and destroy it from the inside out with enough damage to practically wipe out their fleet.
Look who's all about drone strikes now.
Out of the question. The planet's main foundry at Balaxia has absolute strategic value. Even if we could evacuate 10 billion Imperial citizens, the loss of the foundries and forges below would see the system's resources depleted within a few months. Void ship repairs, cogitator engines, armor, weaponry, ammunition, every conceivable tool of war, lost. We will not promise Gilead today, only to sentence it to death tomorrow.
We're thinking about this like the invasion is inevitable. I say we outfit one of Roganth's shuttles with some stealth capability and sneak aboard Grimjaw's Space Hulk. A surgical strike could take the war boss out and leave their invasion force in ruins. Whichever orc takes command could never control all the greenskin infighting. Like, imagine if I were to step down from my position and Interrogator Kamala were to take my place. My retinue would be in pure chaos.
Inquisitor, the Absolver's most elite Terminator squadron would have little hope of teleporting aboard and navigating through that Space Hulk to kill Grimjaw with any degree of stealth. That's certainly not going to happen with you. I've seen how you handle a flight of stairs. Besides, the orc invasion is only the motivator for the true reason I summoned you all here, with the exception of Jorgel.
You mean Bush won't be joining our party?
Can't say I blame him after I shellacked his low-energy brother.
A one-termer says what?
What?
Gotcha, Donnie.
Joe and George can't make it to every session and have agreed to act as guest characters to help me tell the story. They'll be popping in here and there along with some of our other friends, but this adventure will focus on the 3 of you. If these sessions go well, we might expand the party at a later time. Now, with that out of the way, the rogue trader continues to address you intently.
The guardsman will play his part with the Militarum planetary defense. It is Avachrus itself that should concern the three of you now. Why the orcs should target it over any of the heart worlds.
The servo skull's screen fades again, refocusing on the image of an Imperial Titan. The god machine stands towering at over 20 meters tall, arrayed with a panoply of devastating weaponry.
Gaius Vestadio, pride of the Titan Legion of this world, nestled in the fortress Caudar, returned to Avachrus to attend damage sustained during glorious murder-make in countless battles against the Hive Fleet Kraken, and its repairs are nearing completion. Even the dullest of orcs could see the active void shields and turret defenses around the fortress. They'll know its machine spirit is almost ready to reawaken, and it would make the ultimate prize for their abominable mech boys.
A new pic sparks to life, this time illustrating great machine works located deep below the vast arcologies coiling for miles beneath the planet's surface.
Other possible targets include the little-known eternal engines below the Balaxia Foundry, relics recovered from the dark age of technology by the magos of the cult Mechanicus. They supposedly convert energy from the planet's vast solar arrays to power the foundries. But agents we've embedded within the forges report that they are closely guarded and maintained by a secretive order of priests called the Suspire that suppresses all knowledge of the engine's inner workings. Whatever their true purpose may be, the engine's secrets could unlock weapons of terrible power for the orcs to unleash upon the galaxy.
Who cares what the heathen Xenos want? All they'll get from me are bellies full of bolter rounds. Why call us here if you don't want us to engage the greenskins?
Perhaps you should reassess us mere humans, Captain. The Lord Veronius could see past the obvious in this situation. You see, even Jorgel mentioned he'd heard rumblings of the invasion force. And with all the technology at their disposal, any remedial Mechanicum data clerk should have detected and reported as much to their superiors long before that. Yet our agents planetside have reported no unusual tech priest activity. No vast deployment of Skitarii tech guards to fortify defenses of their most sacred machines. And this is the reason I have brought you here.
He pauses as the whirring of machinery and the gentle buzzing of the servo skull grav lifts seem to go quiet, as if waiting for his next breath. The data slate jolts as a new image of a senior tech priestess appears before you.
This is Archdomina Vakul, regent of Avachrus. One might say the opposite of the Lord Militant. Vakul sits upon the richest collection of raw mineral wealth and technological superiority in the system. She could hold Gilead by its throat if she chose. But the Archdomina is not so blinded by devotion to her omnissiah that she does not see the danger that surrounds us, and instead has built up a pleasant rapport with our traitor dynasty and regularly sends us reports. We should have learned of this threat from her.
Let me guess, you haven't heard from her and none of your communiques are going through.
Partially, we've only been able to reach the orbital defense stations through short-range binaric cant. They have informed us that nothing can reach the surface. It would seem warp disturbances are scrambling all outgoing messages from the foundries themselves. In Avachrus's most dire hour, communications go down and the Regent Fabricator goes silent as a war boss salivates over her forges. I do not believe in coincidences. Something has happened to the Archdomina, and you must discover what. There is rot in the shadows of Avachrus, and it must be brought into the Emperor's light if we want hope of saving this world.
Then let us gravediggers do our job. We can start mounting defenses for the world and send a battalion to retrieve your magos.
The traitor turns to the guardsman.
No. Your forces must only arrive to coordinate outer defenses of the foundries and leave their fortresses alone. Going any further risks a war breaking out between the Guard and the Mechanicus. They would defend any incursion into their forges to the death in order to keep their secrets, even under the blades of the orcs.
And that's why you need the three of us.
Precisely. Such a threat hinges on the Archdomina's safety to protect her anointed engines. Such a fight cannot be won with artillery or political maneuvering. We require haste. We require agents of an unpredictable nature. Together, the three of you possess the deadly skills to impart the Emperor's will. I would ask that you make planetfall and infiltrate the Balaxia Foundry, secure the Archdomina and slaughter any who would stand in your way before the Orc onslaught begins. Without their regent, Avachrus is a dead world. Can we count on you?
Fine, I'll run your errand if it means I'll get to eviscerate some orcs eventually. I've always wanted to make a necklace out of a war boss's teeth.
Hilarix wouldn't dare refuse me a regiment if I were to rescue the Archdomina. You have my chainsword.
If the Emperor Almighty came down and said, don't run this mission, I wouldn't. But the Emperor's not coming down. Count me in.
The Veronius dynasty will be indebted to you all. Now come. I'll show you to the embarkation deck where we'll...
Suddenly, klaxon alarms begin to sound throughout the DMT as the data slate on the hovering servo skull cuts to a broadcast of Traitor Roganth's personal tech adept.
Sir, the defense station overriding.
A terrible binaric screech reverberates through the cartography chamber. Although the lingua techna cannot be understood by unaugmented humans, the wrongness and distortion of the message has all the markings of chaos taint.
Astavar, what has happened? Tech Adept, can you hear me?
Yes, Captain Roganth. I managed to isolate the ship from the orbital ring's communications. Ever since your agents came on board, the incoming binary camp changed. It became corrupted and assaulted our cogitators. Captain, this reeks of heresy. Only the ruinous powers would so debase the blessed tongue of the Omnissiah. It seems to have infected the DMT's machine spirit, engaging rites of purging.
Damnable heretic virus, has it reached any of our critical systems or the navigator?
Negative, its path is unusual. It is bypassing almost every vessel system, and...
Astavar pauses, and you can see cables linking the Adept to the ship pulsing with strained effort.
I've lost its signature, Captain. The virus has offloaded itself.
Can you determine where?
The fear in the Adept's voice is plain, even through the metallic simulacrum of his speech projector.
To the gun servitors, Voidstormer protocols have been engaged. Designation Stellar Cartography.
Warp, take us all!
Roganth draws his sword and activates the power cell. You see a lethal corona of disruptive energy surround the saber, while the muffled crack of autocannons and plasma discharges send vibrations through the floor of the chamber.
What are the Voidstormer protocols?
We altered the maintenance corridors of the DMT to embed our gun servitors for shock deployment across any part of the ship, should we be boarded by enemies. And this Maltech attack has just made us their enemy. The nearest entry point is just forward of the Voidsman's quarters at the far end of this chamber. Astavar, give me a live feed and lock down central cartography.
Affirmative, Captain.
The pick screen shows grainy glimpses of carnage as the mindless cybernetic drones emerge from maintenance hatchways, cutting down unsuspecting crewmen in hails of gunfire and carving a bloody path toward the sealed chamber door. You'll only have a few seconds to prepare yourselves for battle. Before starting combat, let's briefly go over each of your talents and gear.
I'll start. I've been waiting for some combat, and I'm not looking to join the Democrat voter rolls like Roganth's crewman just did. I am playing as a tactical space marine to give you losers a chance to keep up, even though I should totally be a Primaris intercessor. But with my skills, I'm obviously still the best at everything. For my talent, there could be nothing more fitting than imposing presence, which allows me to use strength and intimidation. I've gone with Invoke Luck for my psychic powers, which will give me a boost for one skill test, making me pretty much unstoppable, just like in real life. And my signature weapon will be none other than the brutal Thunderhammer Storm Rider. Let's just say it's passed through the hands of several chapter masters before coming to me, but I like to think my time with it has seen its crowning achievements. Apparently, its unwieldy nature makes it unbalanced, resulting in an added difficulty penalty. But in my large, capable hands, it shouldn't be a problem.
I've decided to dedicate more points towards an augmetic, in the form of a cortex implant, allowing me heightened tactical instinct and greater analysis capabilities both on and off the battlefield. I'll confess to neglecting my studies at the Schola for the occasional night partaking in some recreational obscura. But I did learn one thing. If you like your chirurgeon, you can keep your chirurgeon. A commendable field medic can make all the difference in a firefight, so I'll be choosing first response as my talent to boost my Medicaid proficiency. In addition to my Commissar's Munitorum kit, my primary weapon will be a modified chainsword, specially crafted with 57 adamantium teeth, one for every system we traveled to during our last campaign. It has a parry bonus, leaving me practically untouchable to any attack from my enemies.
I'm not going to lie, Ben, this doesn't look like my handwriting, but for the talent on my character sheet, I have lobotomized efficiency marked down. I guess it adds a double rank to my conviction and resolve. Must have filled it out before Barry persuaded me to drop out of the race.
You're not supposed to tell people, Joe.
Oops. Anyhow, I do remember choosing Phantom Grip for my psychic power, allowing me to manifest telekinetic hands on objects and people alike within 30 meters. The possibilities are limitless.
I don't want to hear any more, Josephin. Just move on to your weaponry.
Although I'll rely predominantly on my psychic powers and sharp mind to get me through most situations, my trusty Artificer assault shotgun will be right by my side. It's perfect for defense of the Ordo's enclave with its penetration bonus. Firing a couple rounds through the door gets the job done every time. The blast radius modifier is also nifty for allowing for precision shots instead of just blasting the Xenos apart. You can get so much out of wounded interrogations instead of shooting to kill. That's why I always try to shoot him in the leg. No joke.
Excellent. The three of you draw your...
What about Jorgel's gear?
We'll get him a nice melt-a-gun. Good for taking out steel beams, I hear.
9/11 jokes already?
Oh, come on, we're just doing what I like to call a bit of trolling.
I'll show you a bit of trolling. Ben already promised I'd survive this session. Can't say the same for you guys. I'll have my standard issue las rifle, so don't give me a reason to find you down my sights.
Donaldius has been there and done that. How's the ear, by the way?
That's cold.
Suck rope, Obama.
Well, I was going to see which of you wanted to begin the combat round, but seeing as you're so distracted, we'll say the three of you fumble a swift weapons check, and instead the enemy will seize initiative and attack first. The metallic chamber doors are wrenched open as a Cataphren battle servitor leads the charge into the stellar mapping room. A terrifying cyborg by Adeptus Mechanicus standards, such a servitor could only be among Roganth's security forces courtesy of Astavar and his connections with the Fabricator General. The Breacher unit unleashes a volley of helical energy blasts from its heavy arc cannon, and searing energy bolts careen towards you all. I'll roll the servitor's hit test. Against the 5 of you, it will need a DN of 5. That's 6 icons, so a successful hit on all of you. Now I'll roll for the damage test against your defenses. Donaldius, Barackiel, and Roganth suffer no severe damage from the blast. The respective ceramite, plasfiber, and displacer fields in each of their armors holding against the devastating arcs. The attack matches Josephin's resilience, and he suffers 1 shock. Veteran Sergeant Jorgel suffers the worst of the attack, taking 4 wound points, incapacitating him. He cannot move on his own and will be limited to ranged attacks of decreased damage.
Guess this is karma for laughing when Cheney shot that lawyer.
Hey, nobody messes with towers but me. Is it our turn for the round, Ben? This rust bucket's about to get a taste of Thunderhammer.
Hold on, Donaldius, we can't go off half-cocked. Don't forget Joe's in shock.
Don't worry about it. With him, you'll barely notice a difference. Where's the fire in you, Commissar? Come on, for the Emperor. Ben, I move to attack the Cataphren battle servitor, swinging Storm Rider's energy field emitter directly at its head.
Second Captain Trump charges the cyborg and begins the group's combat round. You'll need a DN of 3 to hit.
Did you bring those rigged dice from our Call of Cthulhu game? Not a single damn icon.
Donaldius, in a rage of religious fervor for the Emperor, fails to contact the servitor's head, instead lightly grazing its heavy arc cannon as sparks of energy leave blackened marks on his Mark 7 Aquila power armor.
A swing and a miss. You could name your re-election campaign after that move.
Maybe I should have picked you up and tossed you at the thing, Inquisitor. At least then you'd be useful.
The Inquisitor's shock damage will leave him disoriented for this round. His turn is skipped.
Ah, phooey.
Looks like it's up to us, Barackiel.
I'm not out of the fight yet. One of you get the Inquisitor to cover and the other get me to a position where I can put this las rifle to use.
Ben, I want to use a standard movement to rush over to Jorgel and drag him over towards a chamber column where I can prop him up to aim at the doorway. Does that count as my total action this round?
We'll say you're close enough to the fallen guardsman that you may still engage in an action this round.
I'll choose to hold my action. That way I can survey the battle and interrupt the enemy attack with my action if I can pass the initiative test. Roganth, I'd recommend you move Josephin to cover until his shock wears off and use the rest of your turn for a full round defense bonus. More gun servitors will be coming through.
Good idea. Ben, I'll use my turn to do exactly that.
Trader Joe quickly guides the Inquisitor behind a cogitator station overlooking the entranceway and allocates 20% more power to his armor's displacer field.
Thanks, Roganth. Although Jill usually gives me ice cream after she leads me away from folks. Try and remember to bring some next time, will you?
Just be ready for the next round, Biden. Donaldius, your defenses should hold for another attack, then keep that Cataphren unit in place near the chamber's entryway. That should create a choke point for the rest of us to lay into these lobotomites.
Oh, like I need your help. No son of Gilliman will take orders from a...
Listen, Donaldius, I know we disagree about a lot of things, like the orcs, and single-payer med bays, and offshore Prometheum drilling.
Don't forget your Terran birth certificate.
But I know we both want what's best for the citizens of the Imperium, and that means defeating these chaos-possessed servitors and destroying the infernal orcs who would dare sully the sacred ground of this forge world. None of us can do it alone, so quit acting above it all like a Black Templar. We are brothers in this duty. Now by the throne, help me carry out the Emperor's will.
There's the fire I'm looking for. Very well, Commissar. Lead us to victory.
I've literally got chills right now, and not from the shock adrenaline.
Go ahead and start the next combat round, Ben. We will not tire, we will not falter, we will not fail.
The enemy turn begins as several gun servitors march through both openings behind the Cataphren unit, oblivious to the residual heat from the arc cannon even as it tans their gangrenous skin. Expressionless eyes stare blankly while advanced ocular targeting systems immediately identify Donaldius as the most imminent threat. They raise the autocannons grafted to their limbs, ready to open fire on the Ultramarine.
I'll move to make my initiative test. If I pass, I want to use my las pistol in one hand to fire a quick salvo at the servitors on one side. On the other side, I'll use my free hand to swing my chainsword for a disrupting slash against the other servitors.
That'll take an impressive roll, even more so if you want to inflict damage or wounds. Starting with your initiative, you'll need a DN of 4. Well done, Obama. 4 icons exactly. The Commissar dramatically vaults over the cartography projection console, drawing his las pistol and activating his chainsword with a flourish that distracts the servitors. Now to test your hit, remember you'll get an additional die for the battle awareness your augmetic provides. Not bad. You needed 3 to hit and rolled 5 icons. The damage is where the hard part kicks in. You'll need 6 to damage the servitors.
Easy like bypassing congressional approval. Let's go.
You're on fire today, Barackiel. That's 7 icons plus a wrath complication.
Let's say someone was feeling a little drowsy when they read over the rules for that part. Could you explain what that means, hypothetically, of course?
It means something unexpected, but not necessarily negative, will happen in combat. Hypothetically, of course.
Smartass.
In this case, Obama's las pistol fire causes 5 damage to each servitor flanking the left side of the breacher unit. His chainsword slash, however, critically beheads the first servitor it contacts. Involuntary fire erupts from the unit, eviscerating neighboring servitors on the right flank with cannon blasts from its spasming limbs. They collapse on the floor in a ruined pile, blood and oil pooling about their shredded bodies.
This was a great plan, Obama.
The enemy turn continues as the Cataphren Breacher's heavy arc cannon lets loose another destructive energy blast, this time entirely focused at Donaldius, and 2 icons mean the blast finds its mark. The photo lenses in Trump's helmet deactivate at the last possible second, narrowly preventing blindness amidst the helical death coils circling his pauldrons and chest plate. Testing the extent of the damage, we have 8 icons. An immense blow that overcomes the Space Marine's resilience and deals brutal damage. It causes a mortal wound in Donaldius' right arm.
Well, Jorgel, it looks like we're surrounded by liberals, because Ben's clearly not on my side anymore.
I don't control the dice, Donaldius.
Nah, I guess you people are too busy controlling everything else, huh?
As much as I'd love to be the one destroying you with facts and logic, the Cataphren unit is doing a fine job of destroying you on its own. I warned you that your Thunderhammer would have an unwieldy nature, and now it will have an even greater penalty with single-handed swings until you are healed. Keep that in mind as the combat round is returning to you.
This was a horrible plan, Obama.
Don't worry, Donaldius. I'm about to go Inquisitor Brandon on these servitors. Ben, I want to start the combat round, readying my shotgun with amputator shells to fire on the wounded units. I know I'm at a pretty distant range, but the micro shrapnel in the ammo should do plenty of damage no matter where I hit.
That's quick thinking, Josephen. However, it will almost deplete your reserves of that ammo type. Just remember, you have limited quantities of your different variants, so use them at your own discretion.
Asking Josephen to remember something. Famous last words.
I'll tell you what I remember, Obama. Didn't you have a chef that ended up...
Like I was saying, Inquisitor, you're sharper than ever.
That's better.
Now then, you'll need 3 icons to successfully land a hit.
Damn, that's only 2. What about glory points, Ben? Can I use 1 point to re-roll my test score?
Normally you could, seeing as how glory points are resources you can spend to overcome the terrifying obstacles of the 41st millennium. Unfortunately, there are none in your pool at the start of the session. Your group has to earn them through critical successes and leveling up bonuses. As it is, your devotion to the Emperor must have been lacking when uttering the rites of targeting while preparing your shotgun. The Artificer rounds veer wildly from their targets, disintegrating against the inner void shield of a viewing window.
I'll go next, Ben. We've got to stop the terror. I call upon all of you to stop these killers. Now watch this shot. I'll move to fire my long las at the Cataphren battle servitor with an extra die for my chosen weapons trait of sniper.
That extra die is only for your damage. You'll need to overcome a DN of 3 for your hit test first.
That's 5 icons and a wrath critical.
The veteran guardsman demonstrates that the blood of heroes runs through the veins of the militarum, as the signature crack of the las rifle ushers a mighty bolt that penetrates the battle unit's chest plating, superheating layers of flesh before rupturing its power cell housing. Molten metal and outgassing of vaporized internal organs billow from the opening in the unit's chest as it slumps over, the arc cannon thudding loudly against the chamber floor.
Excellent work, Bush. Now let's finish off the damaged units. Commissar, let's put our blades to use in a combined attack.
You can do that. Any player that hasn't taken a turn can use their combat action to support another's and increase the overall dice pool for the attack.
Let's do it then.
All right, Ben, Barackiel and I charge the servitors, swords drawn in united purpose and movement to hack the tainted gun units to pieces.
You'll need a 3 to hit.
Yes, there's a 3 and the damage is...
2 icons. The gun servitors flail, attempting to shoot their swordsman attackers, but the damage they've sustained makes them easy prey for the traitor and commissar who cut down the servitors with bloody swiftness and bring combat to a close.
We did it.
Emperor be praised.
That thing was lucky Ben cheated with his rigged dice. I never even got to land a hit. And yet, despite all that, I still managed to distract the Cataphren unit for you all. Were it not for my heroic leadership and selflessness, none of you would have made it.
Your leadership? Don't you have something to say to Barackiel?
Well, yeah, you're right, I'll admit it. Commissar, put those Medicae skills to use and patch me up, will you? It'll be hard to carry the team with one arm.
Donaldius, come on, man.
And, you did all right.
I suppose that's the best I'll get. And sure thing, I'll take a look at... What is that?
Feth it all. The Cataphren Breacher. It has an internal melt-a-bomb set for detonation upon death. We're lucky it didn't go off when Jorgal destroyed it. Astavar told me his techs had nullified its machine spirit.
It sounds pretty alive to me.
The tempo of the melt-a-bomb timer begins to increase.
We need to get out of here and close off the room.
That breacher blasted the door seals when it attacked. We can't contain it. Maybe I could use my augmetic to examine it quickly, figure out a way to disarm it.
Roll for intellect. Time is running short, and the damage wrought upon the battle breacher will make it difficult to inspect. You'll need 5 icons.
Damn, that's only 2. I don't have a choice, guys. I want to use our glory point to re-roll. Here it goes.
3 icons. You're unable to disarm the bomb amidst the ruin of the servitor's insides.
It can't end like this.
This will not be the end. Ben, my Mark 7 armor has the highest resilience rating. If I order everyone to fall back in the chamber, can I shield them from the blast?
You have the stats, Donaldius. But you know what this means.
Only in death does duty end.
There's got to be another way.
Wait a minute, Mark 7 armor?
I should be the one. You all are needed on Avachrus. Maybe I can boost my displacer shields enough to...
The frequency of the counter reaches a fever pitch. You must make your choice or suffer oblivion.
I've got it. None of us are joining the Celestial Army today. Donaldius, your Mark 7 Aquila armor has mag boots, right?
Yeah.
And Roganth, you can disable these interior void shields?
I think I know where this is going.
Your shields absorbed them earlier, but a few of my amputator shells would make short work of that viewing window and eject anything not anchored down into the blackness of the void, including that battle servitor. Trump, you hold on to the Commissar and the rogue trader and lock in those mag boots tight.
What about you and Jorgal?
I've got a plan that's sure to work.
I don't like the sound of that.
An unorthodox plan, to be sure. One that will require a willpower check from all of you to survive the harsh conditions. On the other hand, Donaldius would have to sacrifice himself. What do you decide?
We peril the vacuum of the void. Men of Gilead, do you want to live forever?
Cheers erupt amongst the group as Trader Joe presses a deactivation rune on his vambrace. The subtle discoloration and electrical fizz of the shields dissipate as they are deactivated. Donaldius' thought activates this mag boots and tightly grips Barackiel and Roganth by their forearms, fighting through the growing pain in his wounded arm.
I want to use Phantom Grip to secure myself and Jorgal to the deck while I reload my Artificer shotgun. Do I need to roll for that?
We'll say your lobotomized efficiency keeps you collected, even with the certainty of the melt-a-charge detonation mere seconds away. I won't even have you roll for a hit on the window. It's now or never.
I aim my shotgun and fire.
Air rushes from the chamber as the glass shatters, exerting a tremendous force threatening to pull you all into the cold embrace of the void. Battle debris and ornate trophies adorning the ship's walls fly past you. The hulking remains of the battle servitor scrape along the floor before taking off in a rush, hurtling into merciless space. I'll have you all roll a willpower check for 3 icons. The Emperor protects. Each of you rolled at least 4 icons and remain steadfast as the chamber loses pressure.
Now, get those shields back, Roganth.
The rogue trader reaches with all his might, straining as he barely grazes the reactivation rune for the void shields. Energy ripples like breaking waves as the shield pulses back to life and pressure begins to normalize in the cabin once more. The 5 of you collect yourselves in time to see the outer void shields of the DMT flare in the melt-a-bomb explosion.
Told you all I could finish the job.
I thought we were done for.
An explosion that size would have taken out a whole section of the cruiser. I don't know how you thought to do that so quickly, Josephin. It's uncharacteristic of you.
Maybe a little of Hunter's special sugar in his morning recaf. Can't argue with results, though.
Well done, Inquisitor. And all of you. You've saved our lives, this ship, and my crew.
He continues to gaze out through the viewing window as Imperial Navy vessels can be seen arriving on the outskirts of the system.
And now you must save our Forge world. The orcs shall soon be upon us.
And with that, we'll end this session. I want to thank Joe and George again for helping out with this campaign.
Anytime, Ben. Happy to do it. We've got to get you back on the podcast soon. Maybe you can bring your sister.
That'd be a great episode to watch.
You mean to listen to, right?
Of course, of course.
Yeah, this was great. It's fun to expand our games outside the normal systems.
We've literally played only 1 session of Call of Cthulhu. I say we wrap up what we've started before we go too crazy.
I'll second that. There's only so much I can keep track of.
I don't want to hear it, Joe. You've got all the time in the world now. This election was supposed to be between the boys, and now I've got to hear Kamala's crazy laughter all the way to November thanks to you.
Just hang in there, Donnie. I get the feeling your schedule will free up after then.
As if, Obunga. Not only will I win, I can run the country with plenty of time to spare for some role-playing, and I'll make it look easy.
I hope so, Donald. I've got a lot planned for the three of you, with many more special guests to come. Until next time, everyone.
If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like.
And subscribe to the channel.
Be sure to stay tuned for more presidential dice rolls where we make adventures great again.